For 8 unforgettable seasons, they captured our hearts on the dangerous trek west. Today, the campfire has dimmed and the wagons have stopped. You will not believe how much time has changed the faces of the Wagon Train cast. From Hollywood royalty to tragic endings that were hidden from the public eye, we are uncovering the secrets of these Western icons. Brace yourself. Some of these updates will leave you in tears. Ward Bond as Major Seth Adams. Born on April 9, 1903 in Benkelman, Nebraska, the veteran character actor finally secured his status as a leading man when Wagon Train premiered. At the age of 54, Bond's portrayal of the tough but compassionate wagon master, Major Seth Adams, became the anchor of the series, turning it into a massive hit that eventually overtook Gunsmoke for the #1 spot in the ratings. His authoritative presence provided a fatherly stability to the show, cementing his face as an icon of the Western genre after decades of supporting work in cinema. While Major Adams was a stoic and controlled leader, Ward Bond's real-life personality was known to be boisterous, loud, and deeply involved in the intense political divides of Hollywood. He was a close friend of John Wayne and a fixture in director John Ford's circle, yet he often struggled with the professional frustration of being typecast as a sidekick or a heavy for the vast majority of his career. Despite appearing in more top-rated films than perhaps any other actor of his generation, he fought for decades to escape the shadow of the stars he supported. Furthermore, he privately battled epilepsy and partial blindness conditions he had to hide to prevent being uninsurable or unemployable in the studio system. Ward Bond was unable to enjoy the long-term fruits of his late career television success. Tragically, while at the peak of his fame during the show's 4th season, he traveled to Dallas to attend a football game where he suffered a sudden collapse. Bond passed away on November 5, 1960, at the age of 57 from a massive heart attack. His death came as a shock to the industry and his close friend, John Wayne, who delivered the eulogy at his funeral. The producers of Wagon Train were forced to move on without their star, eventually bringing in John McIntire to take over the wagon master role. But Bond's contribution remained the foundation of the series' enduring legacy. Bette Davis as Madame Elizabeth McQueenie. Born on April 5, 1908 in Lowell, Massachusetts, the legendary screen icon brought her formidable presence to the small screen in this popular Western anthology series. At the age of 51, Davis's portrayal of Madame Elizabeth McQueenie, a fading showgirl traveling west with her troupe of young protégés, demonstrated her refusal to vanish into obscurity during a transitional era of her career. The role allowed her to display a poignant mix of glamour, grit, and vulnerability, proving that her dramatic power remained undiminished, even as she shifted from the silver screen to the more intimate medium of television. While Madame McQueenie was a character seeking a new beginning and social acceptance, Bette Davis was fighting a real-life battle to maintain her standing in an industry that often discarded aging actresses. Unlike the fictional camaraderie found on the Wagon Train, Davis was known for her solitary, often combative nature and intense perfectionism that frequently put her at odds with studios and co-stars. This television appearance marked a difficult professional period. She faced the humiliation of being considered washed up by major film producers, a struggle against ageism that eventually led her to famously place a job-wanted advertisement in trade papers just a few years later to prove she was still employable. Bette Davis managed a spectacular career resurgence shortly after this role with the film Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, securing her status as a horror thriller icon in her later years. She continued working tirelessly in film and television until her health began to fail, delivering her final performance in The Whales of August, despite suffering from a stroke and other ailments. Davis passed away at the American Hospital in Neuilly-sur-Seine, France, on October 6, 1989, at the age of 81, following a battle with breast cancer that had metastasized. She was interred at Forest Lawn, Hollywood Hills Cemetery, leaving behind an enduring legacy as one of cinema's greatest talents, with an epitaph that fittingly reads, "She did it the hard way." Ernest Borgnine as Willie Moran. Born on January 24, 1917, in Hamden, Connecticut, the acclaimed actor lent his gravitas to the premiere episode of the legendary Western series Wagon Train. At the age of 40, Borgnine's portrayal of Willie Moran, a washed-up former prize fighter battling alcoholism and seeking redemption on the trail, set the dramatic tone for the entire series. His raw, sympathetic performance helped launch the show into a television phenomenon, showcasing his ability to evoke deep empathy and solidifying his reputation as one of the most versatile character actors of his generation. While Willie Moran was a character defined by past failures and isolation, Ernest Borgnine was known for his gregarious personality, infectious gap-toothed smile, and boundless energy. However, the contrast between his on-screen intensity and real life was often sharp. He struggled for years against being typecast as a sadistic heavy due to his burly build and earlier villainous roles. His personal life was also fraught with difficulty and public scrutiny, marked by 5 marriages, including a notoriously volatile 32-day union with Ethel Merman that became tabloid fodder, a chaotic reality that differed greatly from the disciplined professional he was on set. Ernest Borgnine remained an unstoppable force in entertainment for more than half a century, finding massive television success as the lead in McHale's Navy and co-starring in the 80s hit Airwolf. He continued to work tirelessly into his 90s, endearing himself to a younger generation as the voice of Mermaid Man in SpongeBob SquarePants. Borgnine passed away at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles on July 8, 2012, at the age of 95 from kidney failure. He worked until the very end with his final film released posthumously, leaving behind a legacy as one of the longest-working and most beloved figures in Hollywood history. Leonard Nimoy as Bernabe Zamora. Born on March 26, 1931 in Boston, Massachusetts, the aspiring actor took on the dramatic role of Bernabe Zamora in the Wagon Train episode titled The Esteban Zamora Story. At the age of 27, Nimoy delivered a compelling performance as one of the sons of a Basque sheep herder holding his own on screen against Hollywood legend Ernest Borgnine. While this appearance predated his rise to sci-fi superstardom, his portrayal contributed to the high dramatic standards of the hit Western anthology, showcasing an intensity and emotional depth that hinted at the commanding screen presence he would later refine. In stark contrast to the often volatile or villainous characters he played in early westerns and crime dramas, Leonard Nimoy was a gentle, deeply artistic and spiritual man who held a passion for photography and poetry. His career path was far from easy. During the era when he filmed Wagon Train, he was struggling to support his family, often working odd jobs such as driving a taxi and servicing vending machines between acting gigs. Later in life, he faced a massive professional hurdle in the form of severe typecasting. He spent decades wrestling with the public's inability to separate him from his most famous character, Mr. Spock, a conflict so significant that he titled his first autobiography, I Am Not Spock, in an effort to assert his individuality. Leonard Nimoy eventually made peace with his legacy, enjoying a prolific career as a director-photographer and voice actor, while embracing the adoration of his fan base. He passed away at his home in the Bel Air neighborhood of Los Angeles on February 27, 2015, at the age of 83, from complications of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD. His death was marked by a massive global outpouring of tribute, including a final poignant tweet from his account that ended with LLAP live long and prosper. Following his passing, his son Adam Nimoy directed the documentary For the Love of Spock, a project that explored Nimoy's complex relationship with his career and his impact on the world. Robert Fuller as Cooper Smith. Born on July 29, 1933, in Troy, New York, the actor had already garnered significant acclaim for his work on Laramie before joining the cast of the established hit Wagon Train. At the age of 30, Fuller took on the role of Cooper Smith, a rugged and reliable wagon train scout who was brought in to revitalize the series during its later seasons. His portrayal of the stoic, capable outdoorsman became an instant hit, with audiences offering a fresh, youthful energy that helped sustain the show's popularity as it navigated network changes and an expansion to a 90-minute format. Fuller's performance cemented his status as a definitive icon of the television Western era, embodying the classic American virtues of bravery and resilience. Despite the on-screen persona of the solitary and often grim scout, Robert Fuller was known off-screen for his charismatic social nature and a deep, genuine passion for the cowboy lifestyle that far exceeded mere acting. However, his professional journey was not without its hurdles. The cancellation of Wagon Train in 1965 coincided with a massive cultural shift in television that saw the rapid decline of the Western genre. Fuller faced the daunting struggle of being heavily typecast, finding it difficult to secure roles that didn't involve a saddle or a Stetson. He had to fight against the industry's perception of him as strictly a cowboy actor for several years, navigating a dry spell in his career before successfully reinventing his image as a physician in the 1970s. Hit drama Emergency. Robert Fuller eventually retired from the entertainment industry to live out the lifestyle he so often portrayed, moving to North Texas to focus on horse ranching and fishing. He remained a beloved figure on the convention circuit for decades, frequently attending the Festival of the West to meet with generations of fans. He has been married to actress Jennifer Savage, known for her role in St. Elsewhere since 2001. As of 2026, at the age of 92, he is enjoying a peaceful retirement in Texas, celebrated as one of the last surviving legends from the golden age of television westerns. Barbara Stanwyck as Kate Crawley. Born on July 16, 1907 in Brooklyn, New York, the cinematic legend brought her formidable presence to the small screen in the first season of Wagon Train. At the age of 50, Stanwyck's portrayal of Kate Crawley, a tough, uncompromising female wagon master who challenges the show's regulars for dominance, was a masterclass in grit and authority. Her performance helped legitimize television for established Hollywood film stars and proved that her intensity translated seamlessly to the home screen, laying the groundwork for her eventual reign as the matriarch in The Big Valley. While Kate Crawley was abrasive, ruthlessly competitive, and hard-edged, Barbara Stanwyck was known on set as Missy, a title of affection given to her by crew members who adored her professionalism and lack of ego. Despite her status as the highest-paid woman in the United States during the 1940s, her move to television was born out of the professional struggle against Hollywood's rigid ageism, which made quality film roles scarce for women over 40. She often battled the perception that moving to TV was a demotion, working tirelessly to maintain her career momentum, when the studio system that created her had largely turned its back on aging actresses. Barbara Stanwyck remained active and acclaimed well into her later years, delivering an Emmy-winning performance in the miniseries The Thorn Birds and appearing in the primetime soap The Colbys. However, a lifetime of heavy smoking eventually took a toll on her health. She passed away at St. John's Health Center in Santa Monica, California, on January 20, 1990, at the age of 82, from congestive heart failure and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. In accordance with her strict instructions, no funeral service was held, and her ashes were scattered from a helicopter over Lone Pine, California, the rugged western landscape where she had filmed so many of her iconic scenes. Leslie Nielsen as Jeremy Dow. Born on February 11, 1926, in Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada, the commanding actor built a solid reputation in the golden age of television, before stepping into the dusty trails of Wagon Train. At the age of 33, Nielsen took on the titular guest role in The Jeremy Dow Story, portraying a troubled man with a dark past seeking redemption. During this era, Nielsen was the quintessential dramatic leading man known for his tall, handsome stature and deep, authoritative voice. His performance in the hit Western series contributed to his status as a dependable and serious actor, cementing a screen presence that allowed him to work constantly throughout the 1950s and 60s in high-profile dramas and adventure films like Forbidden Planet and The Poseidon Adventure. Despite his on-screen persona as a stoic, often grim authority figure or romantic lead, the real Leslie Nielsen was a notorious prankster and a man who desperately wanted to be a comedian. This contrast defined his mid-career struggles. For over 3 decades, he was strictly typecast in serious roles, suppressing his natural goofiness and love for the whoopee cushion, which he kept close at hand, even on serious sets. He often spoke of the professional frustration he felt during these years, described as being a closet comedian, trapped in a dramatic actor's career. It was a long, often indistinguishable grind of guest spots and short-lived series, where he played the heavy, or the straight man, waiting for a chance to subvert the very image he had cultivated in shows like Wagon Train. Leslie Nielsen eventually shattered his dramatic mold to become a comedy icon late in life, starring in Airplane and the Naked Gun franchise, but his journey ended after a long and varied career. He passed away in his sleep at a hospital in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, on November 28, 2010, at the age of 84 due to complications from pneumonia. His death marked the loss of a unique talent who successfully spanned 2 completely different genres of Hollywood fame. True to his humor until the very end, his final resting place in Evergreen Cemetery features a bench with an epitaph that reads, "Let her rip," a final nod to his favorite practical joke and his enduring comedic spirit. John McIntire as Christopher Hale. Born on June 27, 1907, in Spokane, Washington, the distinguished character actor stepped into the lead role of the hit series following the sudden death of original star Ward Bond. At the age of 53, McIntire's portrayal of Christopher Hale brought a distinct shift to the Wagon Train, offering a wagon master who was more intellectual, diplomatic, and soft-spoken, compared to his predecessor's gruff demeanor. His gravelly voice and dignified presence helped stabilize the show during a critical transition, allowing the popular Western to continue its journey across the screen for another 4 successful seasons, and cementing his legacy within the genre. While Christopher Hale was a fictional leader of pioneers, John McIntire was a genuine man of the land who preferred the solitude of his remote Montana ranch. The yak to the glitz of Hollywood. This authenticity grounded his performance, yet he faced the daunting professional challenge of winning over a loyal audience that was deeply attached to the show's original lead. Furthermore, as the golden age of Westerns began to wane in the late 1960s, McIntire often found himself typecast into similar authoritative figures, playing endless variations of sheriffs, judges, and ranchers, which restricted his ability to break into different genres as the television landscape shifted. John McIntire remained active in the industry alongside his wife and frequent co-star Jeanette Nolan, appearing together in numerous projects, including voice work for Disney classics like The Rescuers and The Fox and the Hound. He continued to work well into his later years, balancing his career with his passion for his homestead in Montana. McIntire passed away at a hospital in Pasadena, California, on January 30, 1991, at the age of 83, from emphysema and lung cancer. He was survived by his wife and 2 children, leaving behind a body of work that defined the stoic American authority figure for a generation. Lee Marvin as Jose Morales. Born on February 19, 1924 in New York City, The gravel-voiced actor brought intense grit to the screen. At the age of 36, Marvin's portrayal of the complex bandit leader José Morales in the Wagon Train episode titled The José Morales Story showcased his ability to bring depth and menace to villainous roles. His performance stood out in the crowded landscape of television westerns, offering a magnetic presence that captivated audiences and reinforced his early reputation as one of the industry's most formidable heavyweights. While he often played ruthless criminals and hard-edged tough guys, Lee Marvin was a decorated World War II Marine veteran who had been wounded in the Battle of Saipan, a reality that gave his performances an authentic, haunting weight. However, this intensity came with personal costs. He struggled for years against being typecast solely as a villain, fighting hard for the opportunity to demonstrate his comedic and dramatic range as a leading man. His career was also shadowed by personal battles with alcoholism and the psychological scars of war, and he later endured the immense stress of a landmark palimony legal battle that exposed his private life to public scrutiny, contrasting the stoic control he often projected on screen. Lee Marvin eventually broke the villain mold to become an iconic star, winning an Academy Award for Cat Ballou and leading the cast of The Dirty Dozen. Despite his professional success, his health declined in his later years due to complications from coccidioidomycosis valley fever. Lee Marvin passed away in Tucson, Arizona on August 29, 1987, at the age of 63, from a heart attack. He was interred with full military honors at Arlington National Cemetery, where his grave remains a site of respect, acknowledging his service to his country alongside his legendary contributions to cinema. Peter Lorre as Alexander Portlas, born on June 26, 1904, in Rozsahegyi, Austria-Hungary, now Ružomberok, Slovakia. The legendary character actor brought his distinct presence to the small screen in the Wagon Train episode titled The Alexander Portlas Story. At the age of 55, Lorre portrayed the obsessed and eccentric archaeologist searching for a lost Aztec civilization, infusing the guest role with the unique, eerie charisma that had already made him a cinema icon. His performance stood out as a dramatic highlight in the popular Western series, demonstrating how his internationally recognized brand of menace and pathos could translate seamlessly to television during the medium's golden age. Despite being globally recognized for playing sinister, soft-voiced villains and grotesque outsiders, Peter Lorre's real-life personality was far more complex. He was known among friends for his sharp wit, kindness, and deep intelligence, contrasting sharply with the psychotic characters he often inhabited. His career was heavily burdened by severe typecasting, which trapped him in roles that caricatured his appearance and voice, a frustration that led to him famously referring to his face as a heavy mask. Furthermore, his professional life was marred by personal battles, including chronic health issues and a long struggle with morphine addiction that began after a botched gallbladder surgery, difficulties that often complicated his later years in Hollywood. Peter Lorre continued to work prolifically until the very end of his life, often parodying his own image in Roger Corman horror comedies like The Raven, alongside Boris Karloff and Vincent Price. His final film appearance was in the Jerry Lewis comedy The Patsy, released posthumously. Tragically, his life was cut short when he suffered a fatal stroke in Los Angeles, California, on March 23, 1964, at the age of 59. His passing marked the loss of one of cinema's most distinctive talents, and his body was cremated, with his ashes interred at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. Cloris Leachman as Lorena Kimball, born on April 30, 1926, in Des Moines, Iowa. The former Miss Chicago competitor transitioned into a powerhouse actress during television's golden age. At the age of 31, Leachman took on the dramatic role of Lorena in the Wagon Train episode titled The Lorena Kimball Story. Her portrayal of a woman found unconscious on the trail, who becomes the center of a murder mystery, showcased her intense dramatic range long before she became globally recognized for her comedy. This performance was a standout moment in the highly rated Western anthology, establishing her early reputation as a versatile character actress capable of delivering nuance in the heavy psychological narratives that defined the genre at the time. In stark contrast to the serious, often beleaguered women she played in 1950s Westerns like Lorena. The real Cloris Leachman was a free-spirited, eccentric, and uninhibited personality known for her sharp wit. This dichotomy often presented a professional hurdle. While she was naturally comedic and spontaneous, Hollywood initially pigeonholed her into serious, somber roles. Later in her career, the pendulum swung the other way, and she faced the struggle of typecasting as the neurotic Phyllis Lindstrom, fighting to prove she could still handle gritty drama. Additionally, she faced the significant personal challenge of balancing a demanding, non-stop acting career with the realities of raising 5 children, often describing the chaotic juggle of domestic life and show business as an exhausting endurance test. Cloris Leachman defied the odds by remaining a relevant and working actress for nearly 8 decades, earning an Academy Award for The Last Picture Show and becoming a staple in Mel Brooks's comedies. She continued to perform well into her nonagenarian years, appearing in American Gods and voice acting for The Croods: A New Age. Cloris Leachman passed away in her sleep at her home in Encinitas, California, on January 27, 2021, at the age of 94. Her death was attributed to a stroke, with COVID-19 listed as a significant contributing factor. Her passing was mourned by the industry as the loss of a legend who held the record for the most primetime Emmy acting nominations in history, leaving behind a legacy of unparalleled versatility. Mickey Rooney as Samuel T. Evans. Born on September 23, 1920 in Brooklyn, New York, the legendary entertainer stepped into the dramatic guest role of Samuel T. Evans for the Western anthology series Wagon Train. At the age of 40, Rooney delivered a poignant performance in the 1961 episode The Samuel Blamire Story, shattering his lingering Andy Hardy image by portraying a troubled and complex man traveling west. This role highlighted his formidable ability to transition from the world's biggest box office child star to a serious character actor, contributing to a series that was a cultural staple during the peak of the Western genre's television dominance. Despite the often stoic or specifically tragic nature of the characters he played in dramatic anthologies like Wagon Train, Mickey Rooney's real personality was a whirlwind of manic energy, infectious humor, and an unyielding desire to entertain. This contrasted sharply with the serious, burdened figures he portrayed in his adult career. His professional life was marked by the severe struggle of escaping his own shadow. After growing too old for juvenile roles and lacking the physical stature of a traditional leading man, he faced brutal typecasting and periods where Hollywood executives considered him washed up by age 30. He battled through multiple bankruptcies and the relentless pressure to accept low-budget roles simply to maintain his livelihood, a far cry from his days as the highest-paid actor in the world. Mickey Rooney demonstrated immense resilience, maintaining a career that spanned nearly 9 decades, one of the longest in show business history. He found renewed popularity in his later years with an Oscar-nominated role in The Black Stallion and appearances in the blockbuster Night at the Museum franchise. However, his final years were marred by sad revelations. He became a vocal advocate against elder abuse after testifying before the U.S. Senate that he had been a victim of financial and emotional mistreatment by his own family members. Rooney passed away in his sleep at his home in North Hollywood, Los Angeles on April 6, 2014, at the age of 93, from natural causes associated with diabetes. His death left a complicated legacy involving a dispute over his burial and the revelation that the former superstar died with a surprisingly modest estate. Ricardo Montalbán as Jean Lebec, born on November 25, 1920, in Mexico City. Mexico, the classic film star transitioned into the burgeoning medium of television with appearances in anthology series like Wagon Train. At the age of 36, Montalbán's portrayal of Jean Lebec brought a level of gravitas and charisma to the screen that transcended the typical guest star appearance. His performance showcased a dramatic range that moved beyond the superficial Latin lover roles he had been assigned in the 1940s, serving as a testament to his ability to command the screen in the American Western genre and solidifying his reputation as a versatile talent during the golden age of television. While his on-screen personas were often suave, rugged, or romantic, Ricardo Montalbán was known in his private life as a deeply religious, conservative Catholic and a devoted family man, a sharp contrast to the playboy image Hollywood projected onto him. His career was physically and professionally painful. A spinal injury sustained while filming Across the Wide Missouri in 1951 left him in constant agonizing pain that plagued him for the rest of his life, a struggle he concealed from the public for decades. Professionally, he battled the industry's rigid typecasting of Hispanic actors, often struggling to find dignified work that did not rely on heavy stereotypes, a hardship that eventually motivated him to become a fierce advocate for inclusion. Ricardo Montalbán experienced a massive career resurgence in later years, becoming a pop culture icon as Mr. Rourke on Fantasy Island and the villainous Khan in Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. He continued to work despite his deteriorating mobility, eventually acting from a wheelchair in roles for Spy Kids and animated voiceovers. Montalbán passed away at his home in Los Angeles on January 14, 2009, at the age of 88, from congestive heart failure. His death was mourned as the loss of a trailblazer who founded the Nosotros Foundation to improve the image and employment opportunities for Latinos in entertainment, leaving a legacy that extended far beyond his filmography. Looking back at the faces of Wagon Train reminds us that while time moves forward, true talent remains timeless. These performers didn't just play roles, they became family to millions. Seeing where their journeys led after the final episode is a bittersweet tribute to their enduring impact. If this trip down memory lane touched your heart, please subscribe to our channel for more nostalgic journeys through Hollywood's greatest chapters.